I've had way too much coffee this morning. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, I cut myself off. I was starting to get there.
I I'm feeling pretty good. I got up this morning, got all my emails done, and it's like, oh yeah. And I have a captain's meeting for a tournament later on tonight.
Yeah, man, you staying busy. I know that.
I do not like sitting still. I hate sitting still. It's like one of the worst things in the world. What's
It's like going to the beach and sitting in a chair and looking where you'd rather be out there in the water.
it, exactly? And here's the other thing for me. It's what's the idle hands is the devil's playground.
That's right.
I don't like idle hands, man. That's where the problems have started. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are we introducing you by R or Haynes?
We can go with Haynes Hoffman.
Okay, I don't know
Do you,
because
do you have my name up at the bottom, or are you going to do?
it's no. It says it on the bottom. But I just want to make sure I introduce you the way you want to be introduced. And we're already broadcasting live on Facebook, so people are joining in. I want to make sure you're happy. I don't want to see you upset on here.
That's highly unlikely. It's a very rare occurrence that I'm upset.
Listen, I've seen people upset. They climb through the screen and try to choke me.
Not going to happen here.
I don't want that. All right, let's get this party started. And we're back. Here I am, Fly Navarro with the No BS World Tour, coming at you live right now with my man Haynes Hoffman, part of Bluewater Metalworks. Am I correct by saying that?
Bluewater Copperworks, yes.
Bluewater Cop. See, I was going more general with any metal. You were very specific. You want Copperworks. I got it. Salta America is in the house. Good to see you, Douglas. Haven't seen you in a while. Haynes, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Up here in Western North Carolina, a little chilly spring morning. It's beautiful though, and feeling pretty good.
I know we've been talking about doing this for a while. It all started in the middle of COVID. We started discussing about getting you on the podcast, and a lot of hemming and hawing and scheduling, and we finally did it.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be here. This has been a lot of fun watching you and your broadcast through COVID. I've got it hooked up where it bings in on my phone when you get on there, and I try to pull it up if I don't have my hammers in my hand.
No. I love it, and it's for me, it's been one of those things. I'm just trying to share what we do as a fishing community. It's not just a fisherman or fisher lady or an angler, but the whole community as itself. I tell everybody it's kind of like a fraternity. And it's not a boys only fraternity. It's boys, girl. It doesn't matter. If you go fishing, if you like being part of the outdoors, it's a fraternity. And we always seem to help each other and promote each other's business. And the people that don't help each other don't stick around very long.
Yeah, I hear that. This industry is so built for, obviously in-person events and things like that, and getting out in the water together and so forth. But it's so nice to be able to connect and network online. I mean, it's been integral to my business. I lived at the coast for quite some time when I started this, and felt very tied to the coast, and I do love it. But I'm a mountain biker, and I love the mountains, and so I just once I kind of got established, I realized that with the internet, maybe with a little bit more effort on my part, I can stay in touch with the different facets of the industry and tournaments and that sort of thing. And it's been something that COVID has actually enhanced, I think.
It definitely made everybody kind of point towards electronics and social media. And if you used it, and I spoke with somebody yesterday that I'm going to have on the podcast next week, he's literally used the fact that everybody was trying to connect, whether it be through Zoom or social, and he's expanded his business by 3 times. And there's a lot of people that were looking to connect. You didn't want time to pass you by. and you didn't want to just sit and, well, after the Tiger King was over, then we were ready to work. I mean, the Tiger King itself had shut me down for a while because I was just so enthralled.
It shut him down too.
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you what, timing for that show was incredible.
Yeah.
COVID kicks in, and then probably about 17 days into the lockdown, you had the launch of the craziest uh known documentary that I've ever seen.
No,
I don't know how else to describe it.
well, I kind of resisted it for a while, and then everybody was talking about it. I was like, I got to check this out, I think. So it was definitely entertaining, to say the least. But just the, I'm no social media guru by any means. I'm hacking along through it with my own teaching. But my work is as a visual artist is obviously sort of perfectly suited for Instagram and Facebook. And it's just been really fun to sort of build that following a little bit. I've got a long way to go, but I just feel like it's getting some traction, and with help from guys like you and some other artist buddies of mine, and everybody kind of scratching each other's back, then you can expand your business in a a virtual way, I guess you could say. But it's just nice to know that is the cohesiveness of the industry.
It is, the industry is, like you said, it's very cohesive, and we definitely came together during COVID because a lot of people couldn't charter. A lot of people, their businesses were having a hard time because you couldn't do anything in person, depending on what state you were in. But luckily, I mean, I'm here in Florida, so we were allowed to go fishing. It was one of those things we were allowed to do. Depending on what county you were in, there were certain issues. Palm Beach County, you could not put all the boat ramps were closed. But if you had your boat in the water, or you had a private boat ramp, you can get in and out of the water and go fishing every day. It was something that was completely wide open to everybody. So, with that being, it's an outdoor experience. We added 13 million new fishermen as a whole in the country.
Yeah.
And it's a sport that was built for social distancing. Hey, get away from my honey hole. Get out of here.
Well, it was so necessary also to our psyche, and to be able to have some normalcy in our lives, and be able to do the things that we love to do, while the rest of the world was deteriorating around us. I'm the same way up here. We could get on the streams and do some fly fishing, and mountain biking is a naturally social distancing sport, and I've got a 400,000 acre Pisgah National Forest backyard, so plenty of room to get away. And it was just, whatever your thing was, if it was outdoors, you had to get to it, because it was just, everything else was leaning on you.
Yeah, no, it definitely helped introduce a lot of people to the outdoors, or reintroduce them.
Right.
There's a lot of people I know my age, or a little bit older, where okay, let's buy an RV, or let's get the family and start driving along because we can't do anything else. So it's definitely opened up a lot of that. So a quick question for you. You said that you originated on the coast of North Carolina. Where on the coast did you originate from?
Well, I grew up in the middle part of the state in a city called Winston-Salem, but in a roundabout way, after college, good bit of traveling around the world, working different places. I landed in Wilmington, North Carolina, Wrightsville Beach area.
Great place.
Oh yeah, had a bunch of fun, and that's kind of where this business spawned. And I began to make my art about the same time I began to do my research, in a sense, do some sort of serious fishing, and got lucky. Got hooked up with some guys on some real pretty sport fish boats, and got to ride around and learn from some good captains and mates, and examine the species when they were brought on board, and take a million pictures of them, and all that sort of stuff. And that was paralleling my work in my studio. And with what I do is, I'm a sculptor, a coppersmith, and I work with hammers and chisels and pliers and files, and then I color all my pieces with flame, which I can explain a little bit more of in a minute. But I have my challenges, replicating the nuances of each species with a hammer rather than a paintbrush like Carrie or Guy can do. But it's, I love that challenge, and I love trying to continually build my skill level and represent these species as accurately as I can while still having sort of an interpretive, artistic look to the piece.
So, at what point did you realize this is not even something you want to do for a living? At what point did you realize I want to try to start sculpting copper?
Well, it's kind of strange, happenstance. I had moved back from Colorado, owned a restaurant in Breckenridge for a while, and moved back to Wilmington, and was hanging around a tackle shop that a friend of mine owned, and ran into a guy in there that had a metal shop, and he did some artistic work as well as some fabrication work. And he needed a little help with some big projects. And so I went to work for him a little bit, and just became enamored with, the tools and the techniques that he was teaching me a little bit, some joining techniques and things such as that. And he had this big pile of copper in the back of his shop. And I asked him if I could just, stay after a little while and play around with that and try to hone some skills. And, that's kind of where I started seeing the colors in the copper and where they lived while joining the two pieces together. And where your weld is where it gets hot, and you see the rainbow effect of the colors in there. And it just was really intriguing. And I was challenging myself to try to control that and try to, stop the colors where I wanted them to, and to do lines and dots and different color variations and that sort of thing. So I got really lucky meeting this guy. He ended up letting me work in his shop a little bit on my time, and started making fish. I'm the kind of artist that wants to make something that looks like something, so you kind of know when you're done. I don't make large ethereal things that you have to stare at and try to figure out what it is.
Now, when you first started welding and moving all these pieces of copper together, did you automatically go to fish, or did you start with something else and then gradually work your way, saying, "Hey, I like the fishing side of it," or was it, "Hey, man, I'm gonna try to build a wahoo"?
No, yes, and yeah, it definitely went directly to fish, but not to a wahoo.
Okay.
That guy's a little more challenging. I picked the ugliest fish in the ocean. I started with a flounder. I figured you can't make a flounder look any uglier, so let's just start with that. So I just played around with it, and they were pretty rough to start with, and I carried them around in a plastic tub in the back of my truck, and showed people when they would give me the time to look at them, and it just grew. People started saying, "Hey, yeah, can you make a this? Can you make a that?" And my answer was always yes, and I just worked at it till I felt like it was good enough to sell to them, and that's just kind of how it happened. This is 24 years ago.
24 years?
Yeah, I started in '97.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you've been doing it this long.
Well, marine art was, somewhat in the fledgling state back then. Guy was doing his thing, Guy Harvey and Carrie, and it was a pretty good handful of people making some beautiful paintings and sculptures, and like Pierre Pierce and some of these older guys. And I was really lucky that I got exposed to the IGFA, and Mike Leach was in charge then, and he was a big proponent of marine artists, and he had a big art show at the IGFA there in Dania Beach. I think it was 05 or 06. And I was in there with a really large group of very, very accomplished artists, and I was really lucky to be there. And that's kind of what started me on more of the professional career and the idea of trophies and that sort of thing. But yeah, the whole industry has grown tremendously, and there's some incredible talent out there. And then there's some older guys like myself that are still kicking around trying to make it happen.
Now I got a question for you. Did you know that I worked with Mike Leach's son for 9 years on the Real Tight?
No, I didn't.
Him and I were deckhands on the Real Tight. I was there for 14 years.
Wow.
He was there for 9. So Mike Leach is a dear friend of mine. And when Mike Leach stepped down from the World Cup, I was always kind of clamoring behind the World Cup, and that's how I got tapped on the shoulder to end up running the World Cup.
Nice.
I wanted to buy the World Cup, and I kept asking Mike. He's like, they don't want to sell. They don't want to sell. And then one day he's like, hey, listen, I want to retire. Do you want to run it? And I'm like, yeah, I want to run it. I just love that tournament, and I love that you're in contact with so many fishermen from all over the world.
Yeah.
I love networking. I love meeting new fishermen. I love connecting people. So to me, it's a really cool thing.
Well, Mike's good people, and he brought us all together. And unfortunately, the idea of that thing was for it to be an annual event, and it didn't pan out that way. But that year was fantastic. My buddy David Worth was there. I know you know David, and
I know David very well.
Yep, and Carrie and Pasta. You know Pasta.
Pasta.
Pasta Pantaleo, I think his name is. He's painter. He's been down the Keys for years. I can't really recall. It might be now, but anyhow, and Tim Borski and Pierre Pierce, and lots of guys that you would recognize their names.
Yeah.
But it was a great sort of launching event for me.
And listen, the IGFA brings so many people together. It really is. If you're going to launch a business or introduce to a lot of people what you're doing, especially back then before social media, that's a great way to do it.
Well, it was really one of the only ways to do it. That or put it all in your truck and drive around and knock on doors. Another thing I'd be remiss if I didn't say is that Tread Barta contacted me on a random phone call one day shortly after that event and invited me to Walker's to his Blue Marlin Classic. And I was there with Guy and Carrie, and I'm trying to think of who else was there. Danny Azzato, who owns a taxidermy business in New York. But anyhow, he was always a proponent of a marine artist as well. And so he had us there in like a little expo area, and I felt very honored to be there. And then Tread, he was raising money for the kids fishing program at the IGFA, and he raised over $1 million for that program before it stopped, I guess. But and then I got him, I did, but he got in touch with some people in North Carolina that I knew real well in the Outer Banks or in Morehead City area, and started the Barta Blue Marlin Classic there, and raised to date we raised about $900,000 for the Boys and Girls Club there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's all. He did do a lot of stuff for kids in the fishing community.
Yeah.
That was one thing Tread really did. It was something that his heart was 100% behind.
Yeah. Love him or hate him, he was a passionate man, and he charged life. He went for it, and he wasn't so worried about what people thought about him. He rubbed some people wrong, but he sure made a lot of people happy too. And he struggled, and he had that rare blood disease, paralyzed him, and he kept going, kept that tournament going, and it was something to see.
No, you hit the nail on the head when you said some people liked him, some people didn't. That was just Tread.
Yeah,
that was Tread, and I knew Tread. My first job on a boat was at the same marina that he kept the Macaira, and I'm trying to remember which boat it was. It was it a Prowler? He had an old Prowler, 37 foot, something to that nature. And, I was a young kid. I was 19 years old. So I really didn't know him. And I had no right to have an opinion of anybody. My job was just to work, keep my head down and work. And that's what I did. And I'd listen to stories, pro and con. But yeah, again, at 19 years old, I couldn't formulate an opinion. At
Yeah.
least that's the way I believed. Listen, I'm lucky that you're letting me talk in your circles. So,
Well, he used to write that last page
in sport fishing
fishing,
magazine.
yeah, and that's where a lot of people would go to first when they pick up the magazine, and it would, inevitably it would ruffle some feathers and cause a stir. But again, that was kind of back before social media, so he didn't get beat up like he probably would be today. But
No, and
um,
here's the funny part: the first time I was ever published in a fishing magazine was in his article on the last page.
nice, nice.
Yeah, that was the first time I was, I don't know, 21. So it was a long time ago.
That made you famous, didn't it?
I don't know if it made me famous, but at least it got me printed. I think what made me famous was, or actually, I don't even like to say I was somewhere recently, and somebody's like, "Man, you're famous," and I'm like, "No, I'm not famous." I said, "I'm just well known."
There you go.
Huge difference.
Yeah,
Kim Kardashian is famous.
yeah,
I'm not. I'm just, well, everybody knows me. I was recently talking to Mr. Carl Allen from Walkers.
yeah.
He calls me up and he says, "Hey, I just got off a phone call. Somebody calls me up and says, 'Hey, I know Fly Navarro.'" And he's like, "Who the hell doesn't know Fly Navarro?"
Well, you're known in the right circles, that's for sure.
That's Listen, I love doing anything that helps promote my sport or our sport. So
Yeah.
it to me, it's a very big deal.
Yeah, I'm excited about Carl's project, man. I love the rebirth of Walkers. I had so much fun there and feeding the sharks down there on the end of the runway, and I mean, it just was a crazy good time back then. And I'm looking forward to seeing it again in the bright and shiny form he's putting it in.
Listen, I've been there a few times since he's bought it and he's working on it, and it is pretty impressive what he has.
Yeah,
It's very, very impressive what he's doing. It's slow going, but a lot of the slow going is it's not even his stuff. It's the natural, it's Dorian, which completely wiped out the abacos,
yeah,
and it did quite a number on walkers. Then the pandemic hit, and there was no inter-island travel. There's no way for people to get into the country, so all the supplies he was getting, it was a slow go.
yeah. It's on Bahamas time, which is usually a little bit slower clock than
Yeah,
every.
you know what, we can't just blame it on Bahamas time. That's island time.
Well,
uh,
okay, yeah,
I'm going to say island time because, listen, I'm Cuban, and I'm the first one to say, when the Cuban's going to show up, when the coconut hits the bridge. Whenever that is, that's when we're going to show up. So it is an island thing. And but you know what? We've all done projects and stuff comes up. Whether you're building a boat or building a house or building anything, there's things that happen, and it takes time. And whether it be a pandemic, whether it be supplies, I mean, especially here in Florida, getting supplies in Florida right now, everybody's moving to Florida. So
oh, really, I thought they were all moving here.
no,
Yeah, they're
everybody.
moving around though. That's for sure. They're moving out of the city, I think, is what.
People are moving out of the city. People are moving out of New York. They're moving out of California. They're coming to Florida, North Carolina,
Yeah,
Texas. They're moving. So everything's being built right now. And when you're looking for supplies, people are waiting.
yeah. Well, I just know he's doing a first class job, and that never is quick process. And I just can't wait to get back there someday. I don't know when that's going to be, but it looks like a fantastic thing that he's doing there, and I'm proud of him.
No, it's I'm listen, I'm looking forward for it to open up, and I'm very proud and happy to call him a friend. He's a super cool guy. He's got a great vision. And the greatest part, because I've had the time to sit down and talk with him, the vision that he has for the island is literally the vision of what he remembers as a child going there.
Mhm.
So, you know, we all have this imagination. We all have this vision of something what we saw when we were kids. And a lot of times you go back somewhere, you know, you might drive by your old high school and realize that school isn't as big as it used to be. Or
Yeah.
it was so intimidating. Now it's just a building. Or you go to your old neighborhood, it's like, that's my house I lived in when I was 7. It didn't look that small. But you know, you go back to Walker's now, and he's building walkers. And let me not just say Carl, it's Carl and Gigi, Carl and his wife,
Right.
because they're both doing it. They're building this to how he remembers going there when he was younger. And he wants to share that. He wants to share the history. It's not just to create a resort. It's not just to create a spot to go, but to create a spot that lets you touch into the history of an island.
Right.
And Walker's is one of those really cool spots.
Yeah, it's
So
got some history, that's for sure.
it definitely it has history in our industry, but it has an unbelievable history in sailing back in the days. It has piracy, uh developing, coming from Europe into the New World. So there's so much history on that island,
Yeah.
and all of the Bahamas. So it's really cool that uh, he loves that, and he wants to share with it.
Yeah.
So it's really really cool. So I'm looking forward to that.
Has he gotten around to any conversation about tournament being held there, or
Lots of conversations about
okay, good.
tournaments. Lots of conversation about tournaments and all kinds of events.
Yeah, I'd
Uh,
love to see a combination inshore offshore tournament there. You know,
there's some great inshore fishing
yeah,
and
man, that thing
walkers.
that is loaded up with fish all around that thing.
Walkers is kind of neat. Well, it's neat and it can be kind of scary at the same. The worst tournament I've ever fished in was out of Walkers. It was back in 2001, and after Walkers, the next thing is Ireland.
Yeah,
There's it's wide open
yeah,
ocean,
and
so
deep.
and way deep. So when you pull out of that cut, you know, if there's any kind of storm off North Carolina, off Bermuda, you're dealing with it on your chin. And sure enough, we went over there. It was, like I said, it was 2001. It was the North Abaco Championship of the BBC, the Bahamas
Yep.
Billfish Championship. And when we first got over there, back then, the BBC was fish 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, lay Wednesday, and then fish Thursday, Friday. And the weather was so bad, the committee was talking about, hey, what do you guys think of getting rid of the lay day and giving that Monday a day off to see if this weather clears? But the weather forecast looks so bad. It was one of those things, man, it doesn't matter if we take the lay day now or Wednesday. I'd rather get the shit kicked out of me Monday, Tuesday and take a break
Yeah.
and then fish another 2 days. Anyway, long story short, they decided to take Monday as a lay. We fished 4 days in a row.
Oh
Uh,
Lord.
we broke an outrigger stay because of the fact that the boat rolled so much it
That's
caused
it.
our no, it was on the other side.
Oh,
So it wasn't on the dipping side, it was on the upside, and the elbow, back before hydraulic riggers, the elbow broke and it let the rigger come up, hit the side of the house, and when it came flying back down, it snapped one of the stays and the rigger just drooped.
mm,
So we ended up bringing everything in, turning down C, and it took two of us on the hard top, or two guys on the hard top, one guy holding another with a pair of crimpers and aircraft cable, and me on the bridge with my wiring gloves pulling the cable to straighten, not perfectly straight either, just enough so that we can hold the rigger up so it wouldn't completely collapse.
oh man.
And we clamped it. Took us, I don't know, whatever, 40 minutes. And Yeah, it was brutal rough.
That cut down on your spread a little bit, didn't it?
Well, once we were able to open it back up, we were fine. But yeah, I cut it in half,
Yeah.
and it was. I mean, it was brutal. I almost one day going out the cut, I almost got launched out. All the rods were in position. We're going out the cut, just making sure everything was secure. We fell off a wave, and I was in between the footrest and the transom. And when we fell off the wave, what it does is to your back end, it pushes it up. And I was standing there, and I don't care how robust my belly is. It was like a catapult. And if it wasn't for me holding on to the footrest of that rocket launcher or to that fighting chair, I was gone.
Shark bait. Yeah.
I was gone. Shark bait. Hoo ha ha.
Oh man. Yeah, that's those experiences happen, I mean, it's you mess around when you're out there on the ocean, you're gonna get what you're served.
Listen, Mother Nature is Mother Nature. She shows no favoritism, and she does not discriminate. She's just the way she is. So
yeah, and on that note, it's Earth Day. Happy Earth Day, Fly.
Oh, today Earth Day? Oh, that's right. It is Earth Day. Happy Earth Day to you as well. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yes. Hello, Miss Patty Ross. The BBC looked like Hawaii 5-0 opening at Walker's. Amen to that. Jimmy, yes, that is the one that JoJo and Blaine won. They caught, I believe, a 8 and change. Wow. And Jimmy Dewberry says hello to you, Haynes.
Hey, Jimmy.
So we got a bunch of people watching from all over the world right now. Awesome. My buddy Cam is watching from Okinawa, Japan. And we also have Neo all the way from, I believe Neo's from Mozambique. So you got worldwide coverage. Haynes Hoffman, Bluewater Copper Works. See? Man, I only messed it up.
It only took you one time. That's awesome.
Yeah, usually it takes me half a dozen, if not a dozen times. So
well, I feel honored then.
Well, it's so funny. Do you remember Tim the Toolman Taylor?
Oh yeah.
That no matter what, he would never get the names of people right. Well, sometimes I'm noticing I've become like that. And I'm like, I'm looking at it on the screen. I'm looking at it on my email and I still pronounce it wrong. And I'm like, hey man, I can't be like that. Take your time.
I'm pretty sure you can get away with it. People let you get away with it.
Nah, I don't let myself get away with it. That's not right. I just try to, I want, if somebody's name is something I don't want to be confused, especially when you're talking to a lot of people. I want the proper name to get out there. Yeah. So,
well, mine's easy to remember because it's just like the underwear. Okay.
Haynes. So being that you say that, do you work with Michael Jordan a lot?
No, but I went to school with Michael Jordan at Chapel Hill, and
did you really?
I know him. I say personally, but I mean that's not necessarily so anymore. But back when we were seniors in high school, we actually both went to a invitation-only basketball camp up in Honesdale, Pennsylvania, called 5 Star, which is a sort of a recruiting camp for high school students that are heading into college. And I played some pretty good hoop back then, but I broke my foot on the first day. So I ended up sitting there watching basketball all week instead. But then I ended up following Jordan to Carolina, got to watch him win some championships, and we rubbed shoulders a few times. But
did you play for North Carolina?
No. I didn't play for anybody. Okay. It was kind of the end of my career when I broke my foot, but that's all right. I got into other things and certainly had a good time in college.
Listen, if you're not having a good time in college, then you really got problems.
That was back when they would let me in Chapel Hill. I don't think I could get in there today. That's for sure.
Come on. Don't tell me that the statute of limitations hasn't run out on you.
No, SAT's got to be astronomical. That didn't happen. That wasn't my forte.
Oh, listen, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It took you on a different path. And I went to college to be a teacher, and I got a degree to be a teacher. And as I was going through, I'm like, I'm making more money than a school principal right now being a fisherman. And I decided to stay a fisherman, and now I teach people how to fish, and I enjoy it. I still love educating people. I enjoy educating people about my passion, which is fishing, and I enjoy every moment of it.
Well, we got to pass that on to the kids. It's generational, and we got to keep them out there in the water and teach them sportsmanship and ways to do things the right way. And that's something that I'm passionate about, and I really try to, when and if I can, choose tournaments to be involved with that have some sort of aspect of kids involvement or a charity. I think that it's important for our industry to keep in touch with the local communities and be able to give a portion of what is happening there with the event back to the area. I think a lot of tournaments do that, some on larger scales than others, but I think it's an integral part of our heritage and our ability to move this sport forward and keep these kids happening. I know the West Palm Beach Fishing Club is very involved in that, and I think that's wonderful. And a lot of the other ones, I'm not excluding anybody there, but
I appreciate that you picked my hometown fishing club, by the way.
Yeah, well, they're good people down there. You remember I donated a trophy recently to them, and they were very kind. And
oh, wait a second! I think I was interviewing Tom, and you jumped on the podcast and said you wanted to donate something. Now I remember.
It came through you, yes. And we had wonderful conversation, Tom and I, and they were very kind and ended up buying one other piece from me. So they ended up getting two. I donated one. And would love to work with them in the future. But it's organizations like that, and the Hatteras Marlin Club. I'm making all their trophies for their tournament this year, and their big family program, and obviously bringing those kids up fishing and all that sort of stuff. So it's just something that I really, if I can, if I've got two conflicting tournaments to work with, I'll choose every time the one that has some sort of charitable contribution to it.
There you go. Now, do you find that you get too busy to go to all the tournaments, or?
Yeah, I can't say I've been there, done that, and I love going the tournament environment and the whole scene and everything. But generally, what I was doing is I was packing my whole rigmarole up. Having to build an inventory to put in my display area, including the trophies, and then driving it somewhere, setting it up, hoping that it's a good event, that sort of thing. It's taxing. It's taxing on your time and your effort and everything. And, when I moved up here, I kind of decided that I was going to limit some of that because it was that much further for me to do that. And if I can keep my docket full and my production chart, working down the road, then it's smarter for me to stay here. That being said, I love to go to them, and I do go to 2 or 3 a year, but it's just not every weekend like it used to be.
I'm not even going to ask you to tell us your favorite one because I don't want you to be put on somebody's list. So you keep that to yourself, and hopefully people will see you at their favorite tournament. Well, and there's a lot of good ones out there too.
Oh my God, there's so many good ones, and that's what part of the problem is. It's really hard to pick which one you want to go to, and I generally at this point just try to, if I have the opportunity, go to a new one, go to somewhere different, go expose my work to a different crowd. I was mostly centrally mid-Atlantic focused when I was doing these things. Big Rock and Pirates Cove and those North Carolina tournaments, and then some of the wintertime sailfish tournaments down at that Pirates Cove and Fort Pierce and so forth. But I miss some of that. But like I said, it's from a business standpoint, it's better for me to keep my hammers in my hand than my steering wheel.
Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that. Now, your trophies were just introduced to a new group of people out of Chubb.
Yeah.
In my tournament last week. We only sat on those trophies for a year, along with everything else I sat on for a year.
Right.
I had boxes stacked up high because that tournament was supposed to happen last year, but because of COVID, we had to postpone, and we finally did it this year.
Right.
And we were able to give out those trophies. And let me tell you, there's some beauts.
Well, thank you very much. I got some nice comments from some of those folks down there, and I may have another little side deal from the social distancing boat or social distance boat.
Oh yeah, they won the water trophy.
Yeah, they're looking at getting another one. But yeah, I appreciate that. I was very jealous of those trophies when they got on the plane and the boat to go over there. That looks like just a fabulous place to be.
We had such a good time. And for me, I think the biggest good time about it was the first in-person event I've had since this whole junk started.
Right.
And it was nice to get on the docks again and talk to people. I mean, mind you, I've been fishing and I've been traveling a little bit and going different places, but it was the first time, we got to have 30 boats together, and we had to have 2 different seatings so that we can have everybody socially distanced as per all the Bahamian rules and regulations. And but it was just so nice to see everybody. It was just
Yeah, I'm sure there was an exuberance and a good deep sigh of relief that kind of people back in action, and that this thing is not going further south. And we can start focusing on life again. And it's unfortunate, but I think that we all had to kind of get through it however we could, and it's hopefully it's in the rearview mirror for the most part.
I hope so. I really do. And I know for me, again, it's one of those things. It's like bad weather. When you have bad weather, you got to figure out, are you going fishing, and what do you got to do to protect yourself and protect the boat and all that kind of stuff. But you're going to go fishing. And that's what we did. We went by our guidelines, and we went out and put on an event, and people went fishing, and the fishing was really good, and people enjoyed the Bahamas. The food was great. Chub Key Marina and Resort, they were just an unbelievable host.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy working with them. So people had a good time.
They've plopped that little piece of paradise right in a pretty sweet fishing spot, hadn't they?
Oh my gosh, you can't complain. And I have a friend, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but somebody that's not from the East Coast of Florida. They're from the Gulf of Mexico, and they came over and they fished both tournaments. And after the first tournament, they came up to me. They're like, this is kind of nice. You can go fishing and be back at the dock 10 minutes after line's out. It's not 200 miles one way to get back.
Run into the bathroom if you really need to.
And it's funny because we were discussing, my camera people were trying to discuss getting, the boats, and hey, what time is lines out? And 3:00. And it's like, all right, should I be at the point to take photos by like 4:30? And I'm like, you better be at the point by like 3:10. What? I'm like, it ain't that far.
We're not talking about Cape Hatteras.
Yeah, we're not talking. I mean, it's not as close as Hawaii.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I ran that boat in Hawaii for 2 years, so it's not as close as Hawaii, but it's still pretty damn close. And you want to be ready for everything as soon as you pull out of the harbor.
Yeah, man. Drop them in the water. I hear you.
You
want forward to it. I can't wait to get on the rip this year. I didn't go at all last year offshore, which is unfortunate, but I'm hopefully lining up a couple trips here with some boys this summer.
What's your plans look like for this summer to go fishing?
Well, most of my crowd is either in Morehead City or in Wrightsville Beach, and I fished on a 61 Garlington out of Wrightsville Beach for years, called the Eye Catcher, which is a gorgeous boat. And
the green hulled Garlington
right.
boat. I know the Eye Catcher very well.
Yeah, that's a fine machine. And I don't have any firm plans yet, but there's a whole lot of talk going on, and so I'm going to make it happen. I miss it too much.
I'm a firm believer when somebody gives you an invitation, just say yes.
Yeah.
You can bang metal tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna make it happen. It inevitably be it inevitably, excuse me, turns into a bit of a business trip when I go fishing, somehow, some way.
That's the way. It's funny. I just got called and I was talking it over with my girlfriend last night. I have 2 trips in May and they're back to back, and I'm going to be gone for like 10 days, 10, 11 days. And I'm going turkey hunting in Wisconsin. And from there, I'm flying right down to Guatemala to go fishing. And I'm like, man, that's going to be a long time. I got a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, but it's research and development. I got to go to Guatemala.
Yeah.
I got to go to Guatemala.
Who are you fishing with in Guatemala?
I'm gonna go. I'm an instructor for Marlin University.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go to Casa Vieja Lodge. David and Kirsten are a very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I actually there's no hide. I don't have to hide it. We're gonna launch a new program. Might as well tell everybody about it right now. We're working on all the artwork for it, but I want to start a new program we're calling it the billfish baptism. I don't know if you're familiar with a billfish baptism. When you catch your first billfish, you get thrown in the water.
Yeah. Sure, of course.
So what I want to do is David and Kirsten are really good friends of mine. And listen, just like everybody else, they had a hard time during COVID, and I want to give them a little publicity. And I think this will be a lot of fun for everybody. So what I'd like to do is create a contest. It's going to run from Memorial Weekend through Labor Day, but it doesn't have to happen during that time. That's just when you're allowed to upload your videos, and we will put out the videos to be voted on, and whoever has the best video after the summer will win a 2-day trip for 2 people to Casa Vieja Lodge.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's just, again, it's
so the subject matter of the video is somebody being tossed in the ocean,
or in the water, somewhere in the water.
Yeah, right.
In the ocean, in the water.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a rite of passage when you catch your first billfish.
Sure.
to get thrown in the water. And we just came up with the name, the billfish baptism, and I called my buddy Dennis Friel to do me some artwork, and we're going to put something together. And
I saw your podcast with Dennis. Dennis does some great work.
He is phenomenal. Yeah. He is phenomenal. Me and Dennis have been friends for a really long time, and it's, for me, it's hard because I have so many good friends that are artists. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of the art people out there. Yep. And it's like, who do you pick for what? And I'm not trying to show favoritism. I just, if I have somebody for something, I call them. So
let me hit on that for 1 second, because that's what's so great about this genre of marine art within the greater art world, is that everybody is appreciative of everybody else's work. And I have not crossed in 24 years anyone trying to step on anyone's toes, trying to steal business from them, any of that sort of thing. I think that everybody understands that we're all dealing with the same client, and we're all trying to, expose our art, but also understand that you get in line and you sort of work your dues, and you do what you need to do to get your exposure. I think that these tournaments that give away these trophies, that switch them up every year or every few years, however they do it, are fantastic. I would love to have a tournament that I made trophies for 20 years in a row, and there are a couple of them. But I also like the tournaments that switch it up, because they a lot of times have the same participants, and they want to give them a variety. And they also give newer artists a chance to get in and break into that world. And I think it's incredibly important for us as artists to support each other. I've gotten encouraged by Kerry over the years. I was, worked with him, sort of associatively earlier on in my career. Hadn't seen him in a while. I know he's doing well.
I'll see him tonight. I'll tell him you said hello.
Yeah, please do. And then David Worth has gotten to be a pretty good friend of mine. And all these people they lift you up, and that's what it should. That's the way it should be.
Exactly. You're working together. Like I said earlier, this is a fraternity.
Yeah.
And I do like, and listen, I know in my tournaments, I try to make things different because as a fisherman, and who's fished many tournaments, if you fish a tournament so many years in a row and it's the same trophies over and over, it's like, okay, you
Well,
want to see something new.
until it gets to be a massive collection. I have a friend that's I make trophies for a false albacore tournament off the Cape Lookout in North Carolina, and there's a fly fisherman friend of mine. I won't mention him.
I'll mention him, Jake Jordan.
He's kind of a private guy, but anyhow, he's got a tackle room like, as big as my house. But there's one whole wall in his tackle room that is nothing but false albacore. I think he's got like 20 of my trophies on his wall in there. So
he is such a cool guy.
Yeah, he is a cool guy. I think
he's a great guy. I've known him for a while. So and I should get him on the podcast to talk a little bit, because what he does in his fly fishing world, it's a unique little niche. Every place he goes, it has this unique little niche. He just follows the fish around.
Well, that's why I love what I do, because I get, like yesterday I finished making a crappie. I don't care. I mean, I make bluegills to blue marlin. It doesn't matter to me. I love creating. I love challenging of the new species. A lot of it's the same technique, but it's a different anatomical design because of the fish difference, and I just am challenged by trying to create as much realism as I can with hammers and flame. And that's not necessarily easy. And a lot of people don't even understand kind of how my process is. And I'm trying to get better with my YouTube channel and build out that thing so I can kind of show some tidbits of how things are done, because I'm constantly getting questions.
Why don't you set up a camera, DSLR camera or GoPro, just to video all that stuff?
Well, I'm getting there, Fly. I'm old and in the way up here.
Come on now. Come on, you ain't that old.
I do have a helper that just got a new camera. She's going to come over and shoot some sort of time lapse things for me, and I'm getting there. But I really, I love sharing how it's done, because it adds value. It shows people that this is not something that was ordered from some foreign country. This guy's been sweating and bleeding on these things, and it's his craft. So I want people to understand a little bit of the technical side of it.
No, and listen, I've noticed on the videos that I've put out, people like to build stuff and they like to see how stuff is built.
Yeah.
And if you can put out videos like that, it's good for you. It's good publicity. It's good marketing. But also, I'm a firm believer in, we talked about the future generations, letting them know that you don't have to go to college to make a good living.
Yeah. Well, people have been sharing techniques and art and other skills for millennium. That's how the generations get better and better at what they do, is that they learn from somebody, before the techniques were formed or invented. And there's not a lot of people doing what I do. There's a lot of, metal fish people, but I haven't seen a lot of people that are really, really trying to capture the anatomical form of each species. And I pride myself in that, and I really try to, make the fishermen that get these things, whether it's an award or by a commission or whatever, they're like, yeah, you got that little jaw right, you got that lip right, you got the caudal fin right. Those are details that if you don't get right, it turns into a cartoon piece, is what I call it. And I don't want to head there. I want to head towards more professional, clean looking stuff.
No, and you bring up a valid point there. You don't want a fish to look like a cartoon piece.
No.
I mean, and listen, I've seen artwork that does, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if that's what you are shooting for, then that makes a huge difference. You want to make sure it's anatomically correct. Whew, I didn't think I was going to get that out.
Yeah, those big words, man.
Those are big for a fisherman. Come on, man.
I know. I know.
So, what is some of the biggest fish you're doing? I'm assuming, and I'm not saying that your biggest fish is going to be a blue marlin. You could be building a 6 foot crappie or bluegill.
Oh
What
my
is some of
God.
the biggest
Oh,
artwork that you've done?
please don't make me make a 6 foot bluegill.
Oh, come on, that would be so cool. Could you imagine having a fountain, a 6 foot bluegill fountain with water pouring out of his mouth?
Sure,
Come
sure.
on.
We just got to talk money and then we'll get going on
I don't even know where the bluegill capital of the world is.
it. Well, it's not far from where I live. I promise you that. Well, to answer your question, and people can see, good examples of all my work on bluewatercopperworks.com. I've got a pretty extensive website as far as pictures, and it's very easily categorized by, region where you fish, inshore, offshore, that sort of thing. But a lot of my pieces that are big are installations where I have multiple pieces hung together to create a scene. So if somebody has a vision of a, sailfish swimming around a bait ball, and some water bars, some simulated water pieces, and it's all hung on a wall so that, when you look at it, you get
it's 11
the whole
o'clock.
visual of. Sorry, did that my computer come across there?
Oh my gosh, it scared the bejesus out of me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm hearing voices in my head.
That's my butler. He just tells me what hour it is. That's all he does.
Well, tell your butler he scared the shit out of me.
I'm sorry. He will not speak for another hour.
That was good though. I'm like, where's this other voice coming from?
That's just so my day doesn't get away from me. I know what.
Listen, I get it. I totally understand that 100%. My day gets away from me all the time.
Yeah, for sure. But anyhow, so I mean, there's examples of that'll explain it when you look at it a little bit more on my website. But I do that for trout. I'll make a river scene with the trout rising on a fly, or schools of fish or things like that. So that's what I call my bigger pieces, because they're really multiple pieces to create one piece. But as far as singular fish, the work that I do is called bas relief, which is a one-sided three-dimensional piece, because these pieces all hang on the wall. So they're three-dimensional, but they're designed to be viewed from one side. And I can make these pieces up to about 60 inches, 65 inches as far as the billfish go. And that's tip to tail. That's not fork length, because we're measuring art here, not a real fish. And you got to know what space you're going to put it in. So that's about as big as I can make them, really, before they become vulnerable. But I make them
vulnerable to what?
Well, to damage.
Okay.
It's out of 16 gauge sheet copper, but
Okay.
copper is work hardened. So the more you hit it, the more the molecules break up and it gets a stiffer piece.
Okay.
So it's like steel that you pull out of the fire, you bang it and it turns hard again. So it's that those pieces, and I make quite a few larger, particularly sailfish that are that size. But a lot of my pieces are in the 24 to 40 inch range. That's where most of my targets are.
Nice. Oliver Taylor from the UK is asking, do you work with any other metals besides copper, or is it strictly copper?
I have in the past, but I've honed my skills and I built my brand on copper. The one thing that is unique about what I do is the flame painting, is what I call it. So I will build and craft the fish with hand tools. It's all hand drawn, hand cut out with shears, hand hammered. The only power tool I use in the whole process is a drill to cut out the eye socket for the eye. And and then I'll do extensive cleaning of the surface, because you got to get all the impurities off the surface. And then I'll hang it in a device that I've created and paint it with flame. And I use what they call a surgical grade acetylene. It's a purified acetylene that has low impurity content, so the flame can be a consistent temperature. And I will use different combinations of the flame, whether it's a really tight focus or a real sort of what I call a feathery flame. and I'll add the nuances of the fish, the dots, the lines, the demarcation lines, things like that. And then I will begin to pull out the colors, and the colors live in certain they live in stages. Okay, so they will always come out the same stage, but sometimes they come out faster, sometimes they come out slower, depending on ambient temperature, barometric pressure, your distance to the flame is from the copper, your focus of your flame. All those sort of things are variations and factors in how the colors come out. And the challenging thing is to get the colors you want and stop before they go to the next color. And then when you're working on the other side of the fish, which copper is the third most conductive metal on the planet, to keep what you've already gotten where you want it the same way while you're working on the backside of the fish. That's where it's very tedious, and patience is a virtue. But to answer this guy's question, I have worked with other metals. This is my metal of choice, and this is what I base my business on.
And patience is a virtue, and I don't have it. Virtue or patience. I can't wait. I'm a pain in the butt. There's another question. Corey from Oregon has asked, have you made any bass fishing trophies for bass tournaments?
Just sent 4 bass trophies to Georgia 2 days ago. It's a funny tournament down there. They have it's a golfing and fishing tournament. It's a place called the Ford Plantation in Richmond Hill, Georgia, and the course has water on every hole. So teams of 4 play it, and 2 people fish the hole while 2 people golf the hole, and then they flip flop on every other hole. It's called the hook and slice.
I've fished a tournament like that, or I played golf like that during ICAST, where as you're out fishing, one of the guys has to go. You get 3 minutes to go fishing.
Yeah,
and I always get volunteered. You go fishing. I'm like, okay.
But I do make bass trophies. I'd love to break into the larger bass tournament world that's got all the corporate sponsors and all that sort of stuff. But it's a different breed, if you will. It's a different, interesting sort of circle to get into. Not saying it's not possible, but it's just not as approachable, really.
Everything is approachable once you know how to get there.
Well, true that. And Instagram's helped me there a little bit with some of their big time fishermen that are on the circuit and stuff like that. But I make bass trophies, I make walleye trophies, I make trout trophies. I mean, if you catch it, I'll put it on a plaque.
There's like 6 things that I could say that are so inappropriate, but I'm not going to say it.
No, have some patience.
I told you I don't have none of that either.
You can tell me after it's over.
Yeah. It's so funny because I try to treat the podcast like if we're sitting on the back of a boat, and I do, but there's still a certain couple of things that, because there's so many people watching, I can't treat it too much like the back of the boat.
Yeah, you don't know who all's watching. That's right.
No, I can see a lot of the people that are watching.
Well, they may have children in the background as well.
Exactly. And then I don't know once they start watching it after. I do have a quick question because somebody mentioned something, and I don't know if it was one of yours. Have you ever made a blue heron?
I have made a blue herring. I make other things other than fish. I make my crabs are really popular. And that doesn't deserve another comment either.
I'm just going to put that with what we're going to talk about after the fact.
I make shrimp. I made some birds. Please don't ask me to do a dog or a duck or a bear or a deer. I mean, I love all those things, but it's just
lions and tigers and bears. Oh my!
None of those. Keep it water creatures, if you will, aqua creatures.
That's Richard Marney jumped on here and he says, I have a blue heron. And I was just curious if you've done any blue herons. I didn't know if he had one of yours or not.
No, I've only made 2 or 3 probably in my whole career. And I can tell you where all those are, but I don't need to. I know where they are.
You know where they're at?
Yeah.
Wow. It's almost like salmon. They always come back home to roost. So you know where they all go.
That's funny. My parents had one of them, and they sold their house, and it came back home to me.
Did it really?
Yeah,
You,
now it's down here in my yard.
you lucked out.
Yeah, they didn't have room for it at the old folks' home.
Oh, well, come on. You could have made room. You could have,
No, I don't
well,
know.
you could
Not
teach,
appropriate.
you could, what do you mean it's not appropriate? Listen, they want to show off their son's work.
They've got a lot of rules out there, Fly. A lot of rules in those places.
Hey, man, rules are meant to be kind of bent and tweaked a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they say we're not supposed to do, but if everybody just listened, nothing would ever get done.
Yeah. Well, I don't want them to take it out on my old parents. So, well,
How about a
all the rules of
warm,
it.
I'd like a nap. How about a warm glass of Shut the Hell Up from Happy Gilmore, man? That was some of the best.
That was good.
I, I'd like to take a nap. Can I have a warm glass of milk? How about a warm glass of Shut the Hell Up? You will go to sleep or I will put you to sleep. Can you believe that movie's 25 years old?
Yeah, probably.
What? Not probably. It is. It's a couple months over 25 years old.
Oh,
And for anybody that's younger than 25 years, Happy Gilmore was like a classic.
well, it's a cult flick.
It totally is a cult flick. Listen, when it first came out,
in its category, there's a handful of them in that same category.
oh, I remember that growing up and traveling. Well before iPads and all the other stuff, we had the DVDs when we traveled, and you just put on Happy Gilmore and you could watch it over and over and over and over again. And maybe, just maybe, if I think back it up, I don't even know if it was DVD. I might have had it on VCR, which a lot of people don't even know what a VCR is.
That's right. I do.
Yeah, I do too. I know so this morning I sent a TikTok to my girlfriend, and it was a mom asking her daughter some questions. Asked her, do you know what a Rolodex is? No clue. Asked her what a rotary phone is. No clue. Just going down the list, VCR, no clue. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I feel old.
Well, it's interesting to talk to younger folks, and you immediately feel old when you tell them that you were alive for a good long while before they invented the computer, and a cell phone. Nobody walked around with nobody could talk to anybody when they wanted to. You had to go home and stand next to the wall and
oh my God, with the extra long cord.
Oh yeah, right.
The extra long, or when you were trying to call one of your friends and it was a busy signal. Nobody knows what the hell a busy signal is.
That's right. Oh boy, you're making me feel old.
Yeah, well, listen, you're not in this boat alone, man. Getting old is better than the alternative.
Amen. That's what I always say.
Listen, I'll wake up and aches and pains, and I'll deal with it. I enjoy. I'm having more fun now than I was in my 20s, and I had a great 20s. I was living in Venezuela. I was catching fish all the time. I loved it, but I'm having more fun now.
Yeah, man. We refine our fun. We just it's a little different, but we're not dead. We're still having fun.
No. The only difference is my fun usually happens at 9 o'clock or earlier.
Right.
I personally, I quit drinking 13 years ago. And so I don't deal with hangovers, but every once in a while, I'll stay up until like midnight. I wake up in the morning and I feel like shit. Yeah. I feel horrible. And it's like, what's the matter? It's like, man, I didn't get to bed till midnight.
Sleep is a good thing. That's for sure.
I remember as a kid, I don't want to go to bed. Now it's like, can we go to bed? I just want to go to bed. I'm ready.
Yeah, I feel for the people that say they sleep 2-3 hours a day. I don't know how in the hell they're productive. I would be, I'd be smashing my finger with my thumb every day.
I couldn't do it. Maybe I could do it for one day. Like when I'm flying and traveling all over the place, sometimes you land somewhere and it's the beginning of the day.
Sure.
You leave here, by the time you get somewhere, it's 7 a.m. Well, I'm not going to go to sleep at 7 a.m. Yeah. So let's push through. And I feel like crap. But I get it. It's my first day. I'll work it out. A lot of times that's why I go places and I stay for at least a week. Very rarely do I make a business trip and only make it 3 or 4 days
Yeah.
because of jet lag. Unless I just need to go in for a meeting or something and come out.
Well, let's tell the truth here, Fly. You're going to some pretty special places, and staying longer is a nice thing.
Oh, look, I have no complaints on my part. Listen, I'm not complaining one bit.
Yeah.
I
It's
was
not all about the sleep, though. It's kind of about how cool it is where you are.
Oh, it's funny because Cam is watching. I was supposed to be flying back from Tokyo today.
Oh yeah,
But
I heard that. Yeah, it got
we got postponed. They
COVID.
extended the COVID state of emergency and whatever. I don't, whatever the rules are, the rules are. I'll play within the rules. I don't like
Tokyo's
playing
not
with.
going anywhere. You'll get there.
Oh, I'll get there. People are asking me what made me quit drinking. Fly, your age is showing. Exactly. But yeah, I was supposed to be coming back. But listen, if it opens up next week, I'll go next week. If it opens up next month, I'll go next month. You never know. Everything. I'm a firm believer. Everything happens for a reason, so don't fight it.
Yeah, man. Fighting is just giving up energy that you could use somewhere else.
It's exact. If you feel like you're a salmon going upstream, there's
Turn
a
around.
reason. Turn around. Turn around. They go upstream to die. They go upstream to die. So
Don't get in a hurry.
yeah, there's a couple times in life, I fight, and then suddenly you get there and it's like, okay, this ain't worth it. Or I just say, you know what? All these doors that I'm trying to open, it's a pain. Let's just move on. And next thing you know, as soon as you turn around, there's that one thing that you had been waiting for that you were too busy working on something that wasn't going to work.
That's right. That's what wisdom, old age wisdom.
Be careful with that old age, man. That's how nicknames get stuck.
Older. I meant to put older.
I like to call it mature. I was just talking to somebody this morning. I said, 50 is the new 30. And they told me, 50 is the new 20. And I'm like, I like the sound of that one better.
I don't know. 20, I don't relate with 20 too much anymore.
The conversation this morning, I have a friend of mine. We went to elementary school together. And we were having just a quick conversation this morning. We're spinning up a little company, and we were talking. And last weekend he went scurfing, and he's my age. And I saw the video, and he was telling me, "Man, I had a great time. I'm going to do it again this weekend." And that's when I said, 50 is the new 30. And he goes, no, if I keep this up, 50 is going to be the new 20. And I go, don't break nothing, dude.
I was getting ready to say scurfing is
don't break nothing.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing about it is the scurfing, the way he's doing it, the board is not attached to your feet. So all you have to do is jump off, and your hands aren't attached to the leash. All you got to do is let go.
Yeah, true.
Now, us guys, we're stubborn. So we may hold on to the board, we may hold on to the rope, but one way or another, you're not connected to anything. So it's just good exercise. It gets you out of the house.
I hear you. Yeah, my sport is rather dangerous as well. The mountain biking, some things can happen very quickly.
So when you say mountain biking, I'm assuming it's the pedaling mountain biking. It's not the dirt biking.
Oh yes, it's pedal, and we ride super rocky, rooty, lots of elevation gain, lots of fun, fast downhill, but it's, you're living on the edge.
Have you ever gone out west where you get up on the ski lifts, takes you to the top so you can ride down?
I've done some lift assisted stuff, but normally I climb up it on my bike and then ride down it.
Yeah, that shit's overrated, man.
It's good exercise. It's good
exercise. No. I'm not going to say it's not, but man, going uphill on a bike is not easy.
Yeah, tell me about it. But I always say it's either it's gonna keep me alive longer or it's gonna kill me, one or the other.
Yeah, it'll make it fast. How long have you been mountain biking?
30 years.
Come on. So this is something you've been doing for a long time.
Yeah, I love it. It's it's a culture, sort of like fishing, really, or skiing or whatever, kind of a sport culture, and a good group of people. We love we love to ride hard, have fun, and then drink good beer and shoot the shit after, just like fishermen do, and talk about equipment and all that sort of stuff.
It's no different.
Yeah.
I tell everybody there's a big difference between fishing and catching. Fishing is catching is actually reeling in that fish. Fishing is all the other shit you do while you wait. Uh,
Yeah.
I consider, for me, I consider this fishing because
Yeah.
I've used fishing to make all these connections.
Yeah.
And we're still fishing. We're looking for new information. We're looking for new people, new places to go. Let's try something that I haven't tried, you know? Let's go somewhere where I haven't caught a species or somewhere where people can make fun of me. I'm okay with that. You know,
Come up here. I'll put you on some trout or some bluegills, or
I'll do that all day long.
man, it's fun and it is absolutely gorgeous up here, especially in the summertime.
Did you see the pictures when I went ice fishing back in January?
Yeah, that's actually, I commented on that podcast. That's where you hit me back, said, "Hey, let's get you on the podcast." But your teeth were chattering, so I'm glad you were typing it.
Oh, it was you know, it's funny because that tournament series made my book, and I had gone bison hunting the weekend before, and I said, well, you know, it's only a 3-hour drive. I'm going to drive from where we were bison hunting over to Iowa, and I had never been to Iowa, so I went it. I had never been on a frozen lake,
Yeah.
so it was weird just to walk off the boat ramp onto a.
Well, you look kind of weird in your whole getup. It didn't, you know, that was clearly something you borrowed, that outfit.
Oh no, all that shit was mine.
Okay,
it was all mine.
Good.
Yeah, here's the one thing. I mean, I've got plenty of stuff.
Yeah.
Shortage of clothes to go do the things that I like to do is not my problem.
There you go.
Because you know, it's one of those things. I've been hunting for years. I just don't hunt as much as I'd like to because I'm busy.
Yeah.
And when I still worked on boats full time, hunting season was the best time to go fishing in St. Thomas and Venezuela. And it was also the height of hurricane season. So it was hard to make any kind of plans.
Yeah.
So
do both.
Once I quit working on boats full time, I started going up to Nova Scotia, and I go hunting in the afternoons up there, bear hunting, and but it's time. I just don't have as much time as I'd like. But if somebody calls me up, I go. Come on. That's why I'm going turkey hunting in 2 weeks. Somebody called me up and they're like, "Hey, we're all going turkey hunting. You want to go?"
Well, you can make that a combo trip up here too. I am not much of a hunter. I've never really been, but I mean, I've been, but it's not my thing really. But I've got a lot of friends that do it and are very good and got the spots and all that sort of stuff. But if you ever get a hankering, gets too hot down there in South Florida, come up. I guarantee it'll be 20 degrees cooler up where I am, and the fish will be biting and the turkeys will be clucking.
Be careful what you extend an invitation to.
Oh man, I totally mean
it's going to be hot in about 2.5 hours.
All right, well, I'm
Florida, man. We're already seeing 90-degree temperatures.
Oh, I know it's coming.
I mean, a couple of weeks ago we had a cold front come through, and you know, it got down to mid to upper 50s, and it wasn't freezing cold, but it was nice. And it was one of those things. It's April. It was right around Easter, and it's like, yeah, this is the last one.
Yeah,
it's the last cold front for the year, so you better enjoy it because that summertime heat is going to come soon.
Yeah, it's going to be a hot one too. Yeah, we got a freeze warning up here tonight.
Do you really?
Yeah, I'm at about 2,800 feet elevation where my house is.
I'd be out of breath. I'm out of breath just thinking of 20 feet.
You'd be fine.
We went to Colorado for Christmas, and I would get winded just walking to the bathroom.
Well, yeah,
we're 9,000 foot.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't be this out of shape. And first of all,
the real deal. That's I mean, when you go out there, and a lot of my friends that go elk hunting and all this stuff, they spend extensive time training, just so they can breathe to go out there and chase those boogers around the mountains. When I had my restaurant out in Breckenridge, these tourists would fly in from all these coastal towns all over the place into Denver, and then drive straight up to Breckenridge. They come into my restaurant and about pass out, They were just that, the elevation's no joke. You need to prepare for it when you get up that high.
You have to prepare for it, and still, it's one of those things where you start feeling lightheaded or tired. You just got to realize, hey, it's just the elevation. It's that thin air.
Now you got to drink the water and eat the aspirin is what you do.
Is that what it is?
Well, the aspirin thins your blood out a little bit, allows you to absorb more oxygen every breath. And
Okay.
then, what they tell you is, 2 or 3, 4 days, just overload yourself with water as well, so you're hydrated, because it's such a dry environment up that high.
That it is. That it is. I'm a good
going
water.
crazy, but the air is still dry.
I'm a big water drinker, so that's not too hard. But I still, you are constantly dry.
For sure.
So,
all right, so you asked me to be prepared to tell you a fishing story. You hadn't asked me about a fishing story yet.
okay, then tell me a fishing story.
Oh, thanks. All right. So, I've got a lot of fishing stories. We all do, but one of my favorite ones is a sad fishing story.
Oh, great. This is a happy podcast, and now you're taking us down sad road, man.
We followed up with a happy one.
Okay.
But it was, and I talked to my captain last night via text, trying to remember what year it was, but I think it was 2007. We were fishing on the eye catcher in the Big Rock, and we had caught a couple smaller release fish earlier in the week. And when it's not red hot and you're fishing a kill blue marlin tournament and you're pulling lures, it can be a long hot week sitting there watching those things bobble around. Well, we had laid one of the days during the week, and we had to fish the last day, Saturday, which is a shorter day of fishing. And we were, I think, in third place in the release. But we were still looking for Big Girl. And so we're sitting there, we're all just about lulled to sleep. And this is Saturday, June 14th. I know that because that's my birthday. And the rotation of the chair had me in the chair next bite. So, we're sitting there all bobbing around trying to stay awake. And, that big 80 wide goes off on the bridge. And
whoa. How did it go again?
Zzz.
Okay, just check.
Does that tell you what species it is? You can use that sound bite if you need to.
Listen, that's why I just captured it.
Okay, great. But anyhow, so it goes off, and they end it down. I get in the chair, get strapped in and everything, but it was the shotgun rig, so we didn't really know what it was. It wasn't jumping around or anything. We were like, oh man, we got us a big old shark on here. And it sounded, and it was down, and I was sweating, and it was long and hard for an hour and a half. I'm fighting this thing before it even surfaced. And it finally came up, and we don't know if it just didn't know if it was hooked or what. I mean, it just was really not fighting like a marlin. But it was a big old marlin. It was upper 6, maybe 7, and would have won the tournament. And we got that thing all the way to the side of the boat, and the wire guy got it in his hand, and she rolled over on her side, and the hook just fell out of her mouth. Didn't go boing or anything. And she's laid there on the side. Obviously you can't free gaff them, but she was free gaffable. And it just floated off, and then did one kick, and she was gone.
Oh
yeah, that was $1 million fish on my birthday. And
it wasn't her day.
No, it wasn't hers, and it wasn't ours. We ended up third in release, and they got a little check and everything, but it was definitely one of those things that kind of, when you're trying to go to sleep at night, it keeps popping back in your head.
Better than a sharp stick in the eye, man.
Yeah, it is. It was still a cool experience.
I've had 3 fights over 5 hours, and one of them was during the Big Rock.
Yeah.
One of them was during the Big Rock. So I get it. It's heartbreaking, and we lost her.
Yeah. It's a fun tournament, though. They do a good job over there. And
they do a very, very good job. And that's a tournament that brings a lot into the community.
Absolutely.
And it's not just during that week. It's something that the Big Rock charity just continues to give all year long.
Absolutely. It's a very, very healthy endowment they have. And I know all those guys on that board and everything. They've all been good to me over the years. I made trophies for them and Crystal and everybody. But it's an exciting year for them because they actually purchased the what was the BARTA Billfish tournament that was up there, the Boys and Girls Club tournament, and then Tread stepped down and it turned into the Billfish Classic for a couple years, still for the same charity. And then last year, the Big Rock brand bought the tournament. So now they've got the ladies angler tournament, the Kelly Wagner, and they've got the kids tournament, and then they've got the big marlin tournament,
the big one,
which is nice to sort of incorporate all that stuff under one umbrella.
I won the Kelly Wagner about 3 years ago.
Nice.
I was fishing with Pete Manuel on the Delta Dawn.
Oh yeah, I know Pete.
And we had a ball. He had donated the boat. I want to say it was to the committee of the Big Rock. So it was a bunch of ladies that were on the committee. Yeah. And we ended up winning it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I know Casey Wagner really well, whose wife the tournament's named after, who passed from cancer. And you know, it's just a good group of folks up there. Randy Ramsey with Jarrett Bay and all those guys are just all, you know, down home folks, you know, and it's nice to be around them and nice to know that they love their community like they do and they give back.
The Southern Outer Banks is beautiful.
It is really nice.
It's a nice area there. Carteret County and all.
Yeah, that's it.
I enjoy it. So on that note, is there anything you think that we've missed so far this morning?
Well, we didn't talk about the Kardashians. I didn't know if you wanted to get into that, but
I
really don't.
Just the fact that you mentioned their name, that reached my quota for the day. That reached my quota.
Maybe for the week. It was said twice today.
Yeah, listen, here's the only problem. I mentioned their names yesterday. So in conversation.
You got next month off, all right?
Listen, I don't take any days off. The day I take off, there's somebody going to try to pass me. That's the way I look at it.
I hear you.
So again, tell everybody what's your website and how they can find you.
All right. I am Haynes Hoffman. I'm Haynes Hoffman, but on Instagram, I'm at Bluewater Copperworks, and on my personal website is bluewatercopperworks.com. So
there you go. And if they want
ways to get up with me,
and if they've Googled Haynes Hoffman, could they find all that?
Yeah, or Haynes Hoffman or Copperfish. I mean, I come up there on some of those things.
So there you have it, guys and gals. I saw a couple gals in here. You can look up Haynes and ask him some questions. If I missed a question, go ahead, call him up and ask him yourself. So
absolutely.
Haynes, thank you so much for joining us today. Don't hang up yet. Just stick right there while we say goodbye. But thank you so much for hanging with us and talking with us today. And everybody who's watched and who's listening, thank you so much. You can catch the show on all your favorite channels, Spotify and iHeart and Pandora and Alexa Play and all that other stuff. So I appreciate everybody listening. I couldn't do it without you. Actually, I could talk without you guys, but I'm happy to share it with you. I talk to myself way too often. So everybody, thank you so much. Have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Fly.